welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakima McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch our other 5 live shows throughout the week. If you happen to miss them, you can go back and catch them and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You want to catch the audio version of the show, Second City Sports, in podcast form? You can do so by subscribing to War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes on those podcast platforms. You ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, at War on Anchor. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at WARR Media. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. You have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show? You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something stupid, I've given Lakina full boat to give you fools to Bill and Beer boot.
Bye-bye.
And before we get started, we'd like to remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago live and on demand now on Roku TV. That's right, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just click on the sports section and download the Sports Zone Chicago app. Once again, if you already have a Roku TV, just tap on the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. We're available on all streaming devices, iPads, iTouch, your tablets, your laptops, wherever you can stream your programming. You can go to just download that Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago that way. That's right. Let's celebrate. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. All right, Lakina, let's kick off this Friday edition of Second City Sports by remembering a Hall of Famer. We had Bill Russell passing away last Sunday, an icon not only on the court and off the court from the world of basketball, but the world of baseball is a whole lot different today. Vin Scully, the longtime baseball announcer for the Los Angeles Dodgers for 67 seasons, passed away on Tuesday at the age of 94. As I mentioned, he was the face of the Los Angeles Dodgers for 67 years, from 1950 to 2016, during his last season calling games for the West Coast team. Scully's tenure with the Dodgers was the longest by any broadcaster with a single team in professional sports history, and he was second to only Tommy Lasorda, who passed away 2 years ago, in terms of numbers of years association with the Dodgers organization in any capacity. During his record-breaking run as a team play-by-play announcer in his final season behind the microphone, Scully announced most Dodger home games and selected road games on Sportsnet LA and on KLAC radio. He was known for his distinctive voice, lyrically descriptive style, and signature introduction to the Dodger games. It's time for Dodger baseball. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon or evening to you, wherever you may be. He is considered by many to be the greatest baseball announcer of all time, according to fan rankings. In addition to Dodgers baseball, Scully called various nationally televised football and golf contests with CBS Sports from 1975 to 1982, and was the NBC Sports lead baseball play-by-play announcer from 1983 to 1989. He also called the World Series for CBS Radio from 79 to 82, and again from 1990 to 1997. Lakina, we're going to make a connection from Vin Scully to Chicago in just a moment, but growing up, Lakina, I knew of Vin Scully, of course. He was iconic to the game of baseball in Los Angeles and across the country, but the only person that could hold his tenure, could hold his weight, was Harry Carey here in Chicago for both the White Sox and the Cubs. Of course, he blew up nationally with the Cubs. Thank you to WGN television going on cable TV back in the day. but Vin Scully, he was a distinctive play-by-play announcer. The thing that attracted me to him the most, he did most of those games solo. I'm talking about on the local broadcast for the Dodgers. He could tell stories. He was basically doing a talk show while doing the game, and you don't see that too much today because of all the distractions and all the production that goes into television. So we all know that in baseball, in between pitches and in between plays, you still have a lot of dead time, and so you had to fill in that time. And there's no other better announcer that could do that than Vin Scully. In other sports, you do get breaks in the action, but in baseball, you had to fill in time. You had to keep the fans interested in your broadcast, and Vin Scully was the number one in doing that.
Yeah, he was, and sort of like very versatile too. Like you said, he did the Masters for 7 years on CBS. He also did a few other, baseball and some other. I think he did. Well, remember too, one of the most memorable calls, one of his, very first. Well, okay, maybe second after the Hank Aaron breaking the single season home run record. Of course, he did that back in 1974. A few years later, when he was at CBS, of course, he called the Cowboys 49ers 1981 playoff matchup. Of course, Dwight Clark and the catch. That was synonymous.
RIP to 87.
Yes, to Mr. Clark, absolutely. That was actually one of the first that actually kind of kicked off that rivalry too, if you think about it, with the Cowboys and the 49ers. I mean, it was sort of the 49ers are kind of, of course, you also saw the Cowboys and won a couple of Super Bowls, went to like 5 during the 70s and whatnot. The 49ers are kind of like, whatever. But going back to that, but some of his most memorable calls, 1988 Game 1 of the World Series, where Kirk Gibson, who was, you can tell, just sore or was injured, that home run, that's another big call that was synonymous. And I remember watching that game, and it was just a great call. And I know it's been viewed like millions of times since and of course, Kirk Gibson's also having some various health issues too. So wish him nothing but the best. But yeah, I mean, he was definitely Vin Scully. I mean, he was definitely one of those like versatile guys and such. I mean, he just had that distinct voice. You knew if he was calling your game, and the Dodgers fans were looking to have that for years. It's just amazing. He called he go all the way back before then. Don Larson's perfect game in 1956. I mean, just amazing. And just like I said, some of the other, of course, Hank Aaron's, single season home run breaking. You saw that moments and such. Of course, Kirk Gibson and whatnot. Some of the top Masters calls that he did during that time. I actually just saw when Tom Watson, I think that was his first match. I think it was in '78. You saw that great call there, and also to Fuzzy Zoeller when he won the year after that. That hole out on number 10 and during the playoff. So that was a great call by him. So yeah, I mean, look, I think he shows versatility, and also you can tell the Dodge, I'm sure they're gonna do. I'm sure they're gonna do like all types of great stuff, in the season in tribute to him and such. But yeah, just one of those guys that definitely kind of changed the game when it came to broadcasting. His voice kind of soothed a lot of every people who will listen and watch him. And I heard Joe Davis, who does it now currently with the Dodgers, and he said that when also to show how classy Vin was, when Joe got the job as the Dodgers play guy, he actually called him up and he congratulated him. And when if you saw check it out, it was from a couple of days ago during their series against the Giants. But just
we're all for two trying to get to know each other.
Yeah, we're all for two. Yeah, so if you just catch that moment, but yeah, just a really good guy, and also too a great broadcaster. Just you can tell like all the tributes and stuff that have poured in the last few days. Just one of those guys that's going to be missed by, whether you're a sports fan or not, will be missed.
You're listening to Second City Sports, the live and living color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakini here with you, paying tribute to the late, great baseball announcer Vin Scully, who passed away at the age of 94 this past Tuesday. Lakina, I was listening to tributes from around the country, in particular in the city of Los Angeles. There are 2 major radio stations, and one of the programs shared a story that when Monday Night Football kicked off in 1970 on ABC, of course, Howard Cosell got the job. But and this I didn't know until I heard the story the other day. Did you know that Vin Scully was basically that job was his?
Yep.
And because he wasn't offered health insurance, unlike the organization he was working for with the Dodgers, he didn't take the job.
I did not. I actually heard about that he was up for the Monday Night Football job back then. And like I didn't know that was the reason why he didn't get it. I think it just didn't.
Yeah.
From what I heard, it just didn't work out. I know it was because of health insurance or lack of health insurance. So good for him. But look, I think both sides ended up doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah, what
In that
a
front.
twist of fate, as they say.
Yeah, so look, it's crazy how that works, but like I said, it ended up working out for the best for both of them. So that's actually pretty interesting. 1982, I think I got the year wrong. The 82 playoff game between the Cowboys and the 49ers. I want to make sure I corrected myself there. But yeah, just you can go back and hear all this like synonymous calls and such. I know they've been MLB Network showed the 88 Game 1, the 88 World Series that was on NBC. And I think they showed the Henry Aaron breaking that home run record, back in '74. But yeah, just like if we see some of his best calls, and just the sort of like the moment, he didn't really say much. He just let the moment kind of sort of like speak for itself, and I think that's probably what sort of like it all came down to. I think, like I said, he was just definitely like one of those guys, and if you hear some of the broadcasters now, I heard like some of them do, and I know Joe Buck paid a really nice tribute to him a few days ago, and just sort of like you see like the influence that he had on a lot of the current broadcasters, especially the current baseball broadcasters.
Yeah, I usually not the one to do too much free advertising, but if you're on YouTube, I know like many of you are watching us on YouTube right now. There's a YouTube channel called "This Is Where You Find Baseball." Please check it out because it has the most and the best diverse old school baseball games in its entirety from the collection back from the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s. They posted the Vin Scully's final game against the San Francisco Giants from October 2nd of 2016. They posted it up just a few hours after he passed away. So go find the YouTube channel. This is where you find baseball, and they posted up the full game of Vin Scully's last game from 2016. So check that out when you can. I watched the entire thing the other days. It was I couldn't help but get teary-eyed a little bit, Lakina's, but I remember watching it originally because MLB Network, I remember broadcasting that day because it was Hicks' story, because that was the last day of the regular season for that year. And like you said, Vin Scully had a way with words, had a way with storytelling. And it's just something that it's just not, it's not crafted anymore. It's like I said before, it's all about as we said, it's all about putting on the show, the overproduction of film and presentation. You don't get to hear people just tell stories anymore.
Well, I remember he was doing some of those games by himself. He didn't have an analyst with
Yeah.
him, so he had to. So he had to do,
not on the local broadcast. No.
Yeah, so on a local side, so he had to do play-by-play. He had to do analyzing. So that I'm sure he mentioned that years ago that was not easy for him to do. So when he finally got an analyst for the local Dodger games, he actually welcomed it because he saw how hard it was. So just a like kind of like definitely kind of opened the door for a lot of guys and whatnot. Kind of like it was very simplistic. I know some people say a little bit too simplistic now. I think some people will look at it, but in this case, it was actually a good thing it was simplistic because of the fact that, there wasn't a lot of, we didn't have a lot of camera angles, back then. There weren't a lot of, bells and whistles. He kind of just let the game kind of tell the story. So I think that's kind of the thing that's probably, some people say it's kind of like what we're missing today with some of the other stuff, like the overproduction and whatnot. But it was, very simple, and it actually was a good thing back then.
And also, to just a couple other things, I believe this was on John Madden's episode of A Football Life on NFL Network. I believe it's on YouTube. Go check it out. But people forget Pat Summerall was not John Madden's first TV partner when Madden got into commentary. It was actually Vin Scully for that first year. And of course, Pat Summerall came on a couple years later. And number two, as far as a Chicago connection, Vin Scully did, I believe, all 5 of those Cubs Giants games in the NLCS in 1989.
Yep.
Before NBC lost their contract to CBS at the time.
Yeah, you got it. So so definitely, to sort of kind of veered into like different regions of the country and then different, sort of games and whatnot, different rounds. So he definitely kind of sort of, like I said, paved the way for a lot of the current broadcasts you see today.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. The Friday edition, live and in living color, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKin here with you, paying tribute to Vin Scully, who passed away at the age of 94 this past Tuesday. LaKin, let's bring it back home to Chicago. We do have, I'm not saying it just because we broadcast and live here in Chicago, but we had some of the great broadcasters in history. We
Mm-hmm.
still have some great ones now. On my Mount Rushmore of Hall of Fame announcers here in Chicago, Jim Durham. I know he passed away in 2012, 2 weeks before my
Mm-hmm.
mother passed, but he's one of the main reasons why I wanted to do what I do, get into this business. Of course, Jim Durham did the Bulls games for many years in the late 70s
Yeah.
through 1991 before he bolstered for Dallas to do the Mavericks games. Of course, he did a whole lot of national stuff for TNT, for basketball, of course, for ESPN TV and radio during his later years. Also, of course, you had Pat Foley, who just retired this year for the
Mm-hmm.
Blackhawks. He's probably the best hockey announcer we ever had in this city. And then, of course, for baseball, pay tribute to Harry Carey. He did it on the South Side first day to give us coverage, of course. When we went to the Cubs in '82, he benefited from that because of the superstation at WGN called cable TV back
Mm-hmm.
then. And so he's up on the Mount Rushmore of Chicago sports voices of all time, in my opinion. And then for football, I know he's up in enemy territory up north, and he was on our on the podcast of our good friend, friend of this show, George Hoffman, the other day, Wayne Larrabee,
Mm-hmm.
who did the Bears games from '85 through '98. Those are my Mount Rushmore of sports play-by-play man in the city of Chicago in history.
Well,
What
yeah,
about
I
yours?
think, yeah, I think that you could probably make a case. No, Pat Foley's up there, definitely. Harry Carey's up there. I know he's a polarizing figure, but I think Hawk Harrelson is really good as well. And I also I'll put Jim Durham there because I think he kind of like he was there for like the first couple of those Bulls championships. So it definitely it definitely kind of like sort of made it kind of had the voice of the fan voice, Jim Durham had. So that was
Him and
definitely
Johnny
kind of
Ricker were the best.
yeah, they were. And yeah, I think that would definitely be my Mount Rushmore of top broadcasters. Wayne Larrabee is definitely 1A for me, right there in that second tier because of he did DePaul games for a few years when DePaul was really good. So back in the 80s and 90s, and when they had it on Channel 9, the Superstation.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And he
so
did the Bulls too. Let's not forget,
oh yeah, I would say he
when
did
Jim Durham
Bulls
was replaced.
for yeah, I'll say for like about a year or two. But yeah, I think he's definitely up there in that second tier. But we lucked out here in Chicago with some of our local guys, and even some of our local folks, Adam Amin and Jason Minetti, they're both local
Mm-hmm.
guys. Of course, of course, Len Casper, who does the radio, did it for Cubs for years, still doing radio for the White Sox. Also to Boog Shiami, who he's more of a national guy, but he's definitely sort of localized here in Chicago too during the Cubs games. Of course, we're gonna try to get him on the show at some point. But Chris Foster's, we gotta talk about the Blackhawks, going to for Wisconsin playing the Wild for for a preseason game. We gotta talk about that a little bit later, Sid.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we got a nice little mix here of a top broadcaster in Chicago, both current and past.
And also, too, I like to give a shout out to Pat Hughes.
Yes.
Of course, he does a great job on the Cubs radio. He's been
tier.
doing it for the Cubs since 1996, and so he should be in the Hall of Fame right now. Don't wait till he retires until he gets that. Now, I know you mentioned Hawk Harrelson earlier, but Pat Hughes should be in the Hall of Fame with the Ford Frick Award as well. So, of course, I'm not a Cubs fan, but I pay good respects and give people just due when they deserve. So Pat Hughes is up there for me as well. Because he's seen a lot of stuff, especially dealing with the Cubs, both good and bad.
Oh, yeah, he's been
He called the
through it all.
2016 Cubs World Series win. And, of course, he saw the Sammy Sosa home run chase in '98. And of course, we all know what happened in '03. But before then, he did Kansas City and Milwaukee back in the day. So he has had a Hall of Fame career as well.
Yeah, and he always does it with a lot of enthusiasm and a smile on his face. Even now, with the Cubs being at the state they are right now, he always has a smile on his face. I think he knows that, look, things are hard enough, and I know the Cubs are not very good, but he and Ron Cooper do a great job, with the games, on the score. So, yeah, just a great, great. We have a great depth of broadcasters here in Chicago, so and we definitely appreciate them.
Yes, we do appreciate them, and here's our tribute to the late great Vin Scully. Your legacy and legend will not be forgotten. So, peace and love to the Vin Scully family, and he's a legend that will never ever be forgotten. Lakina, we have to break for the bottom of the hour, but when we return, It's early, but we still got to bring on our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We'll get her thoughts about Vin Scully, the White Sox, and everything else in between. And football's back, among other things. So we'll get her thoughts about that and much more. You listen to the Friday edition of Second City Sports, live and in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The White Sox had Thursday off. They're back to work tonight. 7:10 first pitch at home against Oakland. 1-3 right-hander Lance Lynn starts for the Sox. 1-5 righty James Caprillion gets the nod for the A's. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're third in the American League Central. 3 games out of first place. 1 game behind second place Cleveland. Oakland comes in with wins in 7 of 10. They've won 3 straight. The Cubs visit the Giants tonight. 9:15 Central first pitch from San Francisco. 2-5 right-hander Marcus Stroman faces 3-4 righty Alex Cobb. Last night the Giants held on for a 4-2 win over the Cubs that snapped San Francisco's 7-game losing skid. All of San Francisco's runs were unearned. Cubs starter Justin Steele went 3 2/3. He gave up 5 hits, a walk, and struck out 6. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer ends July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live and in living color on a Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can get at me on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG.
We got less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you want to get at us, as the kids would say, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. I know it's been a couple weeks. I know it's early in the program, but joining us right now is Hall Girl from KXRB Radio. It's Christine, the Queen Manika. What up, Christine?
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's busy, very busy, but we're doing good. What about over there?
Same. We're
It's hot.
Well, yeah, it's hot. Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why do you think I have my hair like this? I can't deal with it when it's. I can't do anything when it's this hot.
Oh, the humidity, it'll kill you
Yeah.
there every single time. Okay. So where do you want to go first? We got a lot to pack into like a next half hour with Miss Christine.
All right, Christine, I know since you're younger than us, we on our last segment, we opened up the show paying tribute to Vin Scully. What did you know about him before his passing on Tuesday, and what did you learn about him for the last couple of days?
Gosh, what didn't I learn about him, or what don't I know about him? He's such a legend. To have a career that spans decades, 60 plus years, that's amazing. It's almost unheard of in this business to stay at a certain spot for that period of time. It didn't feel like too long ago that he retired. You know, it was 2016, I believe, so just 5 years ago. And, you know, he will be the voice of the Dodgers. And the fact that a legend like that is gone. All you can say is what a life, what a career. 90 plus years old, and his voice is going to live on in infamy for sure.
Do you have like do you have like a favorite Vin Scully moment that you've probably seen on YouTube or through highlights in the last few days?
I love watching his retirement video. I think it was very sentimental, and he really focused about the organization and the fans, and he didn't really draw the attention towards himself because he said, I wouldn't be here without everybody around him. And there was a fun video that my boyfriend Chris has been showing me about how he can just jump from one conversation to baseball like nothing. Like he would just kind of hop right back into the game when he was going off into a tangent about some story. But it's definitely we are all going to miss him. That is a voice that can't be taught.
Before we move on, guys, Lakina, this is I meant to point this out during the open of our show. Isn't it ironic that 2016 it was the Dodgers versus the San Francisco Giants in the Bay when Vin Scully's last game, and then when he passed away this past Tuesday, the Dodgers were playing the Giants in San Francisco. How ironic was that?
Yeah, very, very.
All right, from one big story to another, let's go local, keeping in with the theme of baseball. The 53-52 White Sox, they're still one game back of Cleveland, 2 behind Minnesota. They couldn't take advantage last night. Christine, as of right now, I don't have the energy to throw something at this screen, so I'm going to be professional here.
Okay.
He's going to let you do it.
They take 2 or 3 from Oakland last weekend at home. You take 2 or 3 at Kansas City, and then the offense decides to take 4 steps back last night against a bad Texas team. Can you give a better explanation than I can? I don't know what to say at this point.
Positives here. They are above 500 for the first time since April. That's one positive. Dylan Cease just got himself another award for the month of July, which, again, I said it in the beginning, he's the player to watch out for. I'm going to keep on mentioning it because he's pulling out all the stops. And, it's like we were talking about during the All-Star break. This is the point of the season now where either players want it or they kind of want it. It depends on really where they envision themselves. I don't think it helps that, apparently Tony is sleeping on the bench from what I saw in that video. But I think there's enough grit, there's enough fire in this team to pull something out. We saw that they were able to get a couple of games off of Minnesota right back into the second half of the season, and I expect them to only grow from here. Did they do any major moves? No. Even Rick Hahn said that he was disappointed that they couldn't make anything major happen. Now, we got a pitcher from Boston, but that's pretty much it. That's pretty much all that we did. We never dealed and wheeled or anything like that for the most part. So for the most part, I think it's pretty stagnant right now. It's just about building on from what you had to start the season until now.
Now there were a lot of other teams were wheeling and dealing. Neither the Chicago teams.
Yeah.
The Padres. They're right through the luxury tax now.
Yeah, no kidding.
The Yankees made a couple of moves. I know Toronto made some moves. What kind of stuck out to you? With all the trades, what trade stuck out to you?
I think it was surprising that I guess the White Sox, I heard, were trying to get Shohei Ohtani. That they put their hat in the ring again. Like I never see that happening, him leaving the Angels anytime soon. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they even attempted that. Another one that I thought was kind of interesting were the Brewers giving up one of their key pitchers there. They're having a decent season, not like how they were in the past, but they're having a pretty consistent season. So I was kind of shocked by that move that they did actually.
Yeah, Josh Hader, the closer for the Milwaukee, was traded to San Diego. Of course, now San Diego also has Josh Bell and Juan Soto. Look, Christine, going back to the White Sox one more time, I saw some of that press conference that Rick Hahn did. before Tuesday's game against Kansas City. He talked about he was frustrated and tired, but he still believes in this ball club. Do you think there's a friction between him and Tony La Russa? And were you frustrated as a fan that the White Sox couldn't make any more moves? Me personally, as a fan, I am frustrated, but I'm more leaning on the side because we were talking heads over this side on this side of the mic that I didn't expect the Sox to do too much. You got the reliever from the Red Sox. He's been doing great so far, but I didn't expect the Sox to do too much, to be honest with you. I'm just taking it as an analyst on this side of the mic.
No, I agree. I didn't expect anything big either. I'm glad actually that they didn't do anything too dramatic because look, you don't want to fix what isn't totally broken, you don't want to do any dramatic moves that could potentially change the dynamic of whatever is the clubhouse. It's kind of going back and forth. The relationship I think Rick has with La Russa, I don't know. That's a very hard question just because I think La Russa was just kind of placed in the White Sox with not really having Rick Hahn's total viewpoint or opinion on the matter. That's just my opinion, just because of how quickly it happened, given out all the other coaches available during that time. Do I think they get along? Yeah, I think they get along to an extent. Do they agree things? Do they see things, everything eye to eye? No, because La Russa, he's bringing in the classic way of playing baseball, and it hasn't really caught up to how the game is played now. It's changed since back then. So I think they can agree to disagree on issues for sure. That doesn't necessarily mean I don't think they get along, though.
Yeah, that's kind of like the number one question there. Do they get along? Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay, switching gears and talk a little NFL now. Be honest. How much did you guys see the Hall of Fame game between the Jaguars and the Raiders last night? Be honest.
0.
Yeah, I watched the 9-minute highlight package on YouTube an hour ago.
Well, yeah, I just saw the highlight package, on Get Up this morning. I think I might see like one series, but you know, it's a little bit nutty. But okay, I'll ask you this. We'll go on the field for a second. What do you think about the Deshaun Watson situation? First, suspended for 6 games, but now Roger Goodell has hired not an arbitrator per se, but some like a third party to kind of who has experience, prosecuting, sex assault cases. Where do you see this going? Can I see this going to the courts? What do you think?
Let me just say, it's interesting how this is all playing out. First of all, I've been pretty vocal about this publicly and online. I don't think he should be playing, period. End of discussion. There is, like I said at the beginning of this case, a huge difference between 1 or 2 complaints to 20 plus reports about these allegations. And I think he just should not be allowed to play in the NFL. Why Cleveland decided to pick him up is beyond me, and it's something that they're going to have to deal with for the seasons to come. I don't think it was the best move for them. They were just kind of getting the team back going with Baker Mayfield, and to just have this issue like Deshaun Watson right now, I don't think it's smart. As an organization, they're going to lose. They've obviously lost season ticket holders because of this, Jim Thomey's wife being one of them, so the Thomey family. They're going to lose sponsors out of this, and they're just going to lose respect in general. I can't see a player on the O-line who is willing to defend a guy like Deshaun Watson after everything that's come out. You look at Deflategate with Tom Brady. He got suspended 4 games. And for this, only 6 games? That's not right. So the NFL has every right to appeal this decision. And I think it will go to court. I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to get off as easily as what he thinks. And I'm sticking to my guns here, and I'm saying he should not play in the NFL. It's absolutely disgusting, in my opinion.
a couple of things that Christine brought up. We talked about this on Monday's show, Lakina. The NFL is worried about its image, aka the Shield, and they're worried about their sponsors as well, and that's why they appealed. And we talked about it on Monday. We expected the NFL to appeal this suspension, and that's what they're doing right now. Here's the thing. We saw this with the Michael Vick case. We saw this to a lesser extent with the Tom Brady and Deflategate. Both two totally different cases. When those guys came back, they started producing, and those teams started winning. Of course, Brady's team, the Patriots, won a couple of Super Bowls after that, and Michael Vick still had a good career. But once those players stayed out of trouble and started winning, and Ben Roethlisberger, even though he's retired now, he wasn't suspended for the rape case back in the day. If you stay out of trouble and you keep winning, fans are very forgiving real quick. So will this happen to Deshaun Watson? That remains to be seen. But I heard somebody say this on a national radio show the other day, and I'll bring it up here. With the NFL appealing that 6-game suspension, if Deshaun Watson's attorneys can see a loophole within that, and they said that Deshaun Watson can play on opening day until that suspension is resolved, you don't think he'll do that? Because remember, he set out the entire year last year, but he got paid. But if there's a loophole in there that he's allowed to play until the suspension comes to a final resolution, I think he'll do it. And whether we like it or not, he has every right legally to do that.
He does. He absolutely has every legal right. Does it make it right what he did? No. But I think the whole scary part for me, the guy is pretty much my age. And I think I brought this up a while back when everything first started to come out. So to me, it's scary what he did. But in my perspective, it's scary that it's a guy that's my age that just went off and did this just because he thought that he had the right and because he thought he had the privilege to take advantage of whatever the situation was. So that to me is the horrifying part.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see how this goes. Like I said, this is gonna get ugly, and it's gonna go to the courts, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens now. Going totally different direction here. We're going to talk about the defending Super Bowl champion Rams, and it's a little bit of concern, with Matt Stafford's throwing elbow. Coach McVay said yesterday after practice that is very abnormal. It's very like a baseball kind of elbow injury. They're being very cautious. Should the Rams and their fans be concerned?
No, I think the Rams fans have to remember Stafford is a veteran quarterback. Okay, he wasn't like a second time or a third year player. He was at that point last year a veteran quarterback. He's not as young as the guys out there now. And I think it's that all catching up to him. So I would be patient still. The fact that they're monitoring it is a good sign. But again, it's important to keep in mind that he's not a young buck. He's a true veteran.
And Lakina, didn't Stafford had a procedure done during the offseason anyway? So and he wasn't going to play this preseason anyway. As long as he's ready by September 8th when they host Buffalo on ring night, that's the only thing, if you're a Rancer, you should be concerned about. Stafford wasn't going to play any preseason games this season anyway. And so as long as he's ready on Thursday, September 8th against Buffalo, you should be good there.
Yeah, as long as I think if you're a Rams or Rams fan, you should be happy this is happening now, like, during, training camp and whatnot, going into the preseason instead of like in the regular season. So better off that this issue comes up now as you don't want injuries to happen anytime this season, but better it happens now during training camp and preseason. So he wasn't going to be playing it anyway.
Yeah. You listen to Second City Sports, the Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakina, and Christine hanging out here with you. Christine, let's continue on with the NFL. Tevin Jenkins, last year's first-round pick from the Chicago Bears offensive tackle. Now people are questioning his toughness, his commitment to the team. Head coach Matt Eberflus has some words for him and Justin Fields. We'll get to Justin Fields later. But now GM Ryan Poles is making calls to see if they could trade for Tevin Jenkins. This situation is getting a little dicey, and the Bears, just like everybody else, their preseason schedule starts next weekend. What do you make about all this as the Bears are trying to rebuild and start a new culture?
From the beginning of Ryan and Matt 2.0, I'll call it, they were very clear about wanting to clean house within the organization. They didn't beat around the bush with it. They said, we're here to change the culture, the atmosphere, and just the overall dynamic of the team to get it to that championship status. And it can be tough on a second-year player that's worked with one coach and one program 1 minute to go into this transitional period of a completely different culture, a completely different coaching style. And sometimes in this situation, when it's not necessarily the coaches that drafted you, or for some college athletes, when it's a coach that originally signed you, the dynamic sometimes doesn't work. And maybe that's what's going on here, where Eberflus and Poles are realizing, okay, maybe this guy doesn't necessarily work with our new format and our new culture of what we're trying to create here for this organization. So I don't think it's anything personally. I just think it's professionally what's going on there.
That's well, yeah. So the various reports are saying that they're talking about trade possibilities, but then he said, "Hey, don't believe everything you hear or read." So who knows what's true and what's not? But let's go to golf for a second. Of course, the FedEx Cup will start next week, but Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, among 11 other live golfers, have filed an antitrust lawsuit against the PGA Tour to let them play in tour events. We'll see what happens in the Ryder Cup next year. What do you think is going on here among all this? Because this is kind of a little bit. I think we both figured that was going to happen, but now that it's happening, okay, game on, I guess.
Yeah, it's not really surprising that they would do this. I want to quick mention about Tiger Woods with the Live Tour. He turned them down real quick with that, and we'll get more into it. But I think anybody who keeps up with golf saw this coming when it came to Mickelson and DeChambeau. Johnson just pleading against, saying, hey, allow us to play. And the PGA was very transparent at the start, saying that there are going to be consequences for these players that decided to pursue other opportunities outside of the PGA. And that's exactly what's happening right now. And they're realizing it. Now, I know a lot of these players that did join the Live Tour did it for various reasons, whether it was because the money, whether it was because of the schedule, the lack of schedule, I should say, and just giving them more freedom to kind of have a little bit more of a personal space than more dedicated to golf. So it's not surprising that they're pleading and filing this suit to come back. And I think the PGA is going to stick on their guns with this. I think they're really going to hold on strong and say, no, this is what you decided to do. So either you come back with us or you stay where you're at, because you can't have it both ways.
We talked about this before, Lakina. The Live Tour, I know they're associated with Saudi Arabia. I know a lot of Americans have a problem with that. I think that's one of the reasons why Charles Barkley's not working over there, because his sponsorships that he is working for, they have a problem with it. Of course, you mentioned, I know you're going to get into this in a second, but Tiger Woods, I know this was reportedly offered a big payday to join them, but both Woods and Barkley really don't need the money. For Barkley, it was more exposure of being a crossover celebrity to help promote the Live Tour. But for Tiger Woods, especially at this point of his career, he really doesn't need the money. Why would he go over there unless it's something that we don't know about? Why would he go over there? I mean, in terms of Tiger Woods.
Right. And the guy has already been through so much already at this point in his career, especially with that horrible car accident. He's just trying to get back in the game. He's just trying to get back to that competitive level before the accident. And I think that's his main priority. It's not about the money. It's frankly not about the wins right now. It's about getting him back physically and mentally for the majors ahead.
Yeah, and also too with with the Ryder Cup, especially coming up next year it'll be in Italy for the first time. Of course, now a new Euro captain Luke Donald. He wants, of course, Northwestern guy. He wants clarity in some of that stuff. Will live players be able to participate in the Ryder Cup next year and whatnot, or will there be like other rules and such? So they're still trying to figure that part out too.
I think I heard the other day Darren Love III said that he is willing, along with a bunch of other players with the PGA, they're willing to protest events and not do it if the players that went to the LIV Tour are allowed to play in PGA events and to play in majors and to play in the Ryder Cup. So that's something to consider too, is probably what the PGA is thinking. And another reason why they're gonna hold their own and really stick to their words.
You're listening to Second City Sports live and in living color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakina, and Christine with you. We're down the home stretch with our good friend, the Queen from KXRB Radio. Going back to baseball, Christine, it was announced a couple of days ago that the Chicago Cubs will participate in, of course, the next Thursday's Field of Dreams game against the Cincinnati Reds. I'll get your opinion on that in just a moment. But the Cubs will be playing overseas next year against the St. Louis Cardinals in London for a 3-game series next June. Of course, they were supposed to do it 2 years ago, but the pandemic wiped all of that away. Of course, the Boston and Yankees played over there 3 years ago, and it looked like a softball game, and we'll leave it at that. Yeah. What do you think about the MLB trying to expand internationally? They did it 20 plus years ago with the Cubs and the New York Mets to open up the 2000 season. Of course, they had a few other teams play regular season games here and there over the last several years. But what do you think about MLB trying to expand that game overseas again?
Well, they're probably thinking, if the NFL can do it, why can't we do it? So I think they're kind of having a little friendly competition there in that sense. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be interesting. I don't think the jet lag is going to help the Cubs any better, but yeah, that'll be fun.
That'll be interesting because baseball in London, that doesn't really we saw this a few years ago and it didn't end well, but we'll see what happens with the Cubs and the Cardinals. Well, especially with next week's Field of Dreams game. I mean, it's going to be hard to top the Sox and the Yankees from last year. Yeah. You're not going to be able to top that.
No, especially the season was different. The Sox were hot, the Yankees were hot. And the Cubs and Reds are not. So is it going to be a well-attended and viewed game? I think so, just because of the historical aspect of it. Is it going to be this whole big grand gesture of theater and Kevin Costner and the legends coming out? I don't think so. No, not this time around.
Will you be watching?
Well...
Take a peek at it. Go take a peek.
I will take a peek at it, but right. I will not watch it. I'm a Sox fan. I can't. I can't.
Take a peek. Just take a peek. Yeah. Take a peek. No, go ahead, Sid. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to get Christine's opinion on this. So speaking of the Cubs, Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ, we both thought they were going to be traded this past Tuesday. Yeah, it didn't happen. Of course, Wilson Contreras was crying his eyes out last week when he was doing his potential last home game. Of course, now he's with the Cubs. I know some people say the Cubs had no choice to re-sign him, correct? I said they can still get rid of him, but in free agency, but they'll get a compensatory draft pick. If you're Wilson Contreras, you're just looking around like, I was supposed to get traded. Now I'm still here. Thank you, Chicago, but we're going to have to go through all this again in a couple of months. If you're Wilson Contreras right now, Christine, what will you be feeling right now?
He took down everything Cubs related in his bio on Instagram. He did a whole goodbye post. He cried on WGN and a couple of other stations about his last home game in Chicago. He really thought that he was going to go. Between him and Ian Happ, he thought for sure this was his run with the Cubs, but I think he's going to use this time to, savor that moment with the team, no matter what happens in a couple of months. Who knows? Maybe the Cubs decide to keep him and really surprise him. But I think it's a good reminder to say, hey, we value you still. We still want you to be a part of this team this season. And I think that says a lot too. It shows him respect, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick NBA question too before we let you go. Apparently, there are negotiations taking place. Is the windows open for LeBron James to re-sign with the Lakers? Do you think he goes back to the Lakers? His contract's up. His contract's up at the end of the season. After the end of this season coming up.
I don't think it's going to be like the big quote unquote decision that we saw all those years ago, a TV special and all that jazz. I think, and I remember reading this in an article not too long ago, I think after this contract is up, I think he wants to go wherever his son is going to end up for, that last little hurrah and to have a chance to play with him professionally and share that moment together. I think that's what's going to end up happening somewhere down the road. Could it mean a little negotiation for another year with the Lakers? Yeah, but ultimately he wants to play with his son to round out his career, and I think that's really sweet.
All right, Christine, before we go, he's going to join us to kick off hour number 2 of this program, but we like to bring him for the first time on our show. And just to give, just for him to give you a quick hello, he's our guy, Herb Lawrence from CHGO podcast. He covers the White Sox for that great company. Hello, Herb. How are you?
Doing good. How are you guys doing? Hello, Christine. How you doing?
Hi, Herbie. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's was it South Dakota?
Yeah. You got to tell Sean I said hi. Are you keeping him in line over there?
Always. Yeah, I know. You guys went to school together, right?
We did. He's a fun guy. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So very excited for you guys. I keep up with your show too, and I'm very, very excited for you guys. It's a great project, and you guys are doing a good job, really.
Appreciate that. And I've been seeing you guys doing your thing out there. I mean, you're progressing on the radio station. That's awesome. That's awesome to see. And congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. It's been busy. Mm-hmm. It's not going to stop, which is always a good thing.
And tell Colleen I said hello.
Oh my God, she's going to flip. My mom, when Herb was on the score, she would call in to win contests. I'm not kidding with this. The last time she won tickets to a Bulls game, Herb texted me saying, "Your mom just won Bulls tickets." I'm like, get out of here. I'm like, is that allowed? Since I'm in radio, like, can she actually win? So, oh my gosh, the first time I met Herbie too, it was so funny. It was going through another contest that Colleen won, and it was with Mitch Rosen when he went to visit SXU. I told him that we were coming out, and he gave us the opportunity to look around the studio, and that's where we met Herb for the first time. So we call ourselves our little fan club for Herbie.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was great to meet you and your sister Kate. It was awesome. You guys are great people.
Yeah, she's got one more year left at U of I. She's going to be a doctor, way smarter than you and me, than all of us. So.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh, I love how all this works out. This works out beautifully.
Yeah, another Kodak moment courtesy of Second City Sports.
Yeah. Hey, Herb, you gotta come on in the next couple of weeks. We can really dish out some stuff.
Oh Lord.
Me. I mean, and that's like an hour behind, right? Too. So I get
we're the same time.
You're Central. Oh,
yep,
okay.
Then, yep.
So I don't have to wake up early. That's cool. Yeah, I'm in.
See, there you go.
I love it when a plan comes together unintentionally, and it's just so
yes.
so it's so cool how that works out. Okay, Christine, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got a busy weekend planned. Where people can find you on the social media.
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at @CManika_KXRB.
All right, Christine, well, great job today, and we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Herb, I'll talk to you later.
See ya.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Stay safe.
All right, Christine.
You too. Bye.
All right. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun Our guy Herb Lawrence from CHGO Sports, who covers the White Sox, will join us to kick off hour number 2 after this. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The White Sox had Thursday off. They're back to work tonight. 7-10 first pitch at home against Oakland. 1-3 right-hander Lance Lynn starts for the Sox. 1-5 righty James Caprillion gets the nod for the A's. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're third in the American League Central. 3 games out of first place. 1 game behind second place Cleveland. Oakland comes in with wins in 7 of 10. They've won 3 straight. The Cubs visit the Giants tonight. 9:15 Central first pitch from San Francisco. 2-5 right-hander Marcus Stroman faces 3-4 righty Alex Cobb. Last night, the Giants held on for a 4-2 win over the Cubs that snapped San Francisco's 7-game losing skid. All of San Francisco's runs were unearned. Cubs starter Justin Steele went 3 2/3. He gave up 5 hits, a walk, and struck out 6. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family Sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer ends July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
And welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Lakina McGee. You follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But before we kick off hour number 2, we have to remind you that Sports Zone Chicago is also available now on Roku TV. That's why you can access Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. Liam Hendricks likes it, and so should you. Get with the program. Roku TV, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live and on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you already have a Roku television, just click on the sports section, download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, you can still stream Sports Zone Chicago on all your streaming devices, your iPhone, iPad, iTouch, whatever the hell you want to call it, laptops. Just download the Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through there. Kicking up hour number 2 of Second City Sports. He's formerly of 670. The Score had a chance to work with him, co-host. He was a guest co-host on the D and Davis show back on the sports ChicagolandSportsRadio.com days back in the day. And I met him a couple of times this year at the Sox games. He's the one and only Herb Lawrence from CHGO Sports. He does a great job with pre and post game for the White Sox. You can find him on the Twitter at AgnoRaw23. Once again, at AgnoRaw2023. Herb, welcome to our program. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. It was a nice opening there, too. Appreciate the kind words. Good meeting you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. Yeah, that was a great tailgate for one of our, shout out to our girl, White Sox Twitter, Joy. It was her 50th birthday, and I saw her again. We was in Lot B. Just as the young kids would say, chopping it up with old followers, new friends, old friends as well. So it was a great time. Also, I finally actually had a chance to meet his soon-to-be wife, and she's going to law school. So tell her once again the congratulations to her on that, and hopefully she passes the bar.
Definitely, Courtney is doing some good stuff, and I'm glad that she chose me, and I can ride on her coattails to this lawyer thing. That'd be great.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
I'm
dear.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
doing a lot of work. I mean, she's working full time and going to
Yeah,
school.
oh, yeah.
It's like very stressful.
Yeah.
So she's
yeah.
better than me, like in money ways, and especially that way.
Mm.
We did this, as the kids would say, the struggle is real. So we get it.
Mhm.
Speaking of struggling, I know we're going from one extreme to another. I know you're tired from I'm sure discussing this on your post game show last night, but the White Sox had a golden opportunity to close in the gap between them and the Minnesota Twins. Both Minnesota and Cleveland lost. The Sox offense decided not to show up last night. Johnny Cueto is still doing it again. Me personally, he's the second best pitcher on the team behind Dylan Cease. But where the hell did the offense go last night? Especially after that first inning, bases loaded. You could not scratch out now one run. It's inexcusable. You can take it from there.
Yeah, it was just very tiresome. We've seen this happen time and time again this year with the White Sox. They get bases loaded via Andrew Vaughn 5-pitch walk, where the pitcher was nowhere near close, except for on the 3-0 pitch where Andrew was taking it the whole time. The next guy comes up is Yoan Moncada, the pitching coach for the for Texas, came out, talked to the pitcher, settled him down, whatever. So if you're a batter, usually I'm thinking, you just walk the dude on 5 pitches. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to allow this young player who's making his major league debut get himself into trouble. He's got to come to me. But instead, Yoan Moncada swings at the first pitch. It's an inside fastball, pretty much pops it up to the shortstop or second baseman, and the inning is over. Just that bats like that just take me out every time with the White Sox. You can lose because the other team is better. The pitcher was on his game. You just didn't have it for your pitcher. He was giving up rocket shots. But when you lose because you don't execute simple plays or you don't understand what the situation calls for, that's what makes me mad. The White Sox have done that time and again this year with execution at the plate, and that's why they have such a poor average when it comes to bases loaded. And no matter how many outs, the White Sox fail more times than not, more than any other major league team.
The only thing that's keeping the White Sox in it is the fact that the division is not so bad. Well, I'm not gonna say bad, but it's just not. It's mediocre at best. I'll say that. But it's the little things, like your fielding issues and like what happened last night with Manika. It gives White Sox fans a little bit of hope. Besides the fact that they're in the AL Central, Herb.
I mean, the hope is that those guys who are struggling now, Yoan Moncada, Yasmani Grandal specifically, can play a lot better. I mean, Yoan's struggling less than he was early in the season, so he's looking actually kind of almost like himself without the power bat. But Yasmani Grandal has been lost. He just came back from the IL where he crushed it down in a rehab starts down in AA and AAA. So we're like, okay, here we go again. Because last year, after he came back from injury, he killed it in the second half to the tune. I think eventually he had 23 home runs and about 63 driven in. And he was one of the best offensive catchers in the game. This year, he is lost. He has, I think, only 2 home runs on the year. And that is not him. He is not attacking the ball like sometimes he does. He's not getting on base at the clip that he gets on usually. And so those two guys just turn into their average selves, not the 99th percentile of themselves, somewhere in the 50th or 75th percentile of them regular selves. The White Sox offense will take off because all the rest of the guys have had not only good seasons, some have had great seasons, sans power. Andrew Vaughn, as his first or second year, is doing well with the bat. Jose Abreu is in his favorite month. He's crushing the ball right now. Eloy Jimenez has come off the designated injured list and has shown the power that we've needed. Few and far between, but a glimpse of what Eloy can do when he gets bat to ball. And I think he's on a 10-game hitting streak himself. So there's people. Luis Robert just came back from his IL stint. So that last night was the first time that those 6 players, the top 6 players in TA, have played together this whole year. So that gives me hope if you're a White Sox fan, because you haven't had your complete lineup this whole season, and now you do. And so yesterday's only scoring 2 runs doesn't leave, doesn't give you hope. But know that if those guys, all 6 of those guys, including Andrew Vaughn as the 7th guy, start hitting as they do, this team will take off. But I've been saying that for 4 months now, and it hasn't happened yet.
We'll see what happens starting tonight. You're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid LaKenna here with you. We're talking with Herb Lawrence from CHGO Sports, who covers the White Sox, along with Sean Anderson and Vinny Duber. They do a great job on pre and post game. Go to allchgo.com to visit their website, and keep it locked right here on YouTube and search for CHGO Sports to watch their pre and post game coverage right there as well. Herb, the only reason why the Sox are in it, besides being in the trash division, is they're starting pitching, and taking the bump tonight is Dylan Cease. What realistic chance do you have of Dylan Cease? Do you give Dylan Cease a win at AL Cy Young Award? You have Shane McClanahan of Tampa Bay. Of course, you have Justin Verlander, who's having a comeback season off of Tommy John for the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros are going to the playoffs unless they have a real big collapse, which I do not see happening. Tampa Bay has been worse than the White Sox, losing to bad teams. But me personally, if Dylan Cease is going to win that award, the Sox are going to have to win this division, and Dylan Cease is going to have closer to a dominant second half. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you. He is the reigning 2-time American League Pitcher of the Month. Remember, he did not go to the All-Star game because dumb politics. And that is why I think Dylan Cease won't win the Cy Young Award this year, because you just talked about it. Justin Verlander's a 2-3-time Cy Young Award winner, coming back and having this strong season at the age of 39, 40. That's automatically a story. He's got about the similar earner and average as Dylan Cease right now, and I see maybe a little correction for Dylan Cease coming up. I mean, you can't be as dominant as he's been. We're 2 months in June and July. He's been sub 1 ERA, and the guy has pitched 12 starts, and I think in those 12 starts, he's given up 4 earned runs. This is a historical run he's on right now. So to think that he's going to continue to do this is unrealistic to me, but if anybody has the capability, it's Dylan Cease, because his slider is the best pitch in baseball, graded out. And nobody can touch that thing when it is on. And it looks like a fastball, which he has 98 miles per hour on it. And then it just, with the vertical and horizontal break, it's just really tough to get and time his slider when it's on. So I don't think he'll win the Cy Young, but I think he'll still be qualified for it at the end of the year, where White Sox fans will get really pissed because they're going to give it to Justin Verlander. They're definitely going to give it to him because, like you said, he's on a better team. He's on a division winner in the AL West, and the comeback story is just way too good for them to pass up. And they probably see Justin Verlander a little bit more than they would see Dylan Cease games. I'm talking about the voters around the world.
Absolutely. And piggybacking off of that, did you think that the Sox were going to add somebody in the during the trade deadline? Do you think they got the lefty reliever from Boston? I think that was definitely something they definitely needed, but you thought that maybe they were going to get another bat, or maybe another like a backhand guy to eat up innings. Were you disappointed that they didn't make any kind of moves?
Yes, very much so. You see everybody else, especially Minnesota, your main competition in the AL Central, them and the Guardians. The Twins go and get a lot of people. They go and get a starter. They go get relievers. They get a backup catcher. They get reinforcements for their run for the division. And the White Sox, while Diekman is good, that was more of a, we got to get rid of Reese, and this is a good fit for us in Diekman, and Boston's trying to shed money like crazy. So, yeah, it was a good pickup, and Diekman's 2 performances so far have been outstanding. But when you're a title contender, you need to go after it immediately, especially when you've seen this year already. You've seen the averageness of this team. Now they're 52, I think, and 51. They're mediocre. You got to improve that. And if you've given the players enough time who are on the roster to do what they do, and they haven't done it. So I would have gone out and got a lefty outfield bat. Somebody out there, Tyler Naquin, you saw him hit 2 home runs for the Mets yesterday. They had one guy right in their division. Maybe the COVID, not having a COVID shot scared him, but Andrew Benintendi is now in New York. That would have been a nice lefty bat, played right field for the White Sox. Good. It would have been fit right in. We could have had a straight platoon with him and AJ Pollock to make a complete major league outfield and a complete right fielder, because I don't know if you guys saw last night's game. Andrew Vaughn is lost. He cannot play right field at all. He was looking terrible, and he grades out as one of the worst outfielders and outs above average in Major League Baseball, and he doesn't even play a lot, and that's the problem. He'll have to play in this iteration of the White Sox lineup because Luis Roberts back, Eloy's back, and right field's available and designated hitters available, but sometimes they like to have Yasmani a designated hitter, so that forces Andrew Vaughn out to right field, which is not ideal. And so Rick Hahn just sit on his hands and do nothing. It was just so like typical White Sox, and White Sox fans were livid. And even Rick Hahn came on and said how he's disappointed that they didn't get anybody. Like, you're the guy who gets people, so how are you disappointed? You should be happy that you didn't get anybody. Like, this shouldn't be a disappointment. If it's a disappointment, that means that you failed. So what are you doing here? What's your job here? What's your role if you're not going to try to improve the team when they desperately need it? So, yeah, it's a failure for them to act. And they weren't going to go to the World Series anyway, but fool the players. Act like you're giving the players some reinforcements, and maybe they play a little better. Maybe they play up to their level. If they believe that the front office has their back, maybe they like, okay, they got our back, so let's take it to the max and see if we can win this whole damn thing. But, now it's just all on them. And they probably have to feel disappointed that the front office didn't do anything.
That was going to be my next question to you, Herb, about Rick Hahn. Of course, you mentioned you spoke to me before Tuesday's game against Kansas City. He said he was exhausted and tired, but he still believes in his ball club. Part of that is because he wanted to calm the fans down, which you know as well as I do, Herb, that you cannot fool White Sox fans. You cannot wave your shaming finger in their faces. We're not going to buy that here. But I wanted to ask you, do you think there's a friction between him and the Ryan Source and or Rick Hahn and TLR, Tony La Russa, for those of you scoring at home, because of the lack of moves that were made prior to Tuesday's deadline?
I don't know if it was a fracture between them because of this, but I think that Rick Hahn has felt a certain type of way towards Jerry Reinsdorf and Tony La Russa since Tony La Russa got hired by Jerry Reinsdorf to usurp Rick Hahn's power. I think you have to feel a certain type of way. Like, you saw him when he did introduce Tony La Russa via Zoom on that October 2020 night or day, and he looked like he was beat up. He looked like he had gone through the ringer.
Yeah.
And ever since then, you don't really hear, he'll say, hey, Tony's got this, that, and the other. But if you really listen to his words, you know that he is displeased with Tony La Russa and how he's managing his club. Because the reason why he fired Ricky Renteria in the first place was because he wasn't analytically based. He wasn't putting the White Sox in the best position to win, according to Rick Hahn, when he did release him. And then you get usurped, and you get a guy that's worse than Ricky Renteria. White Sox fans would be begging for Ricky Renteria right now, because at least he would listen to reason. He would listen to Rick Hahn when he told him, hey, man, you might want to do this or that. You don't want to, pitch to Brian Buxton with first base open instead of, given that. You probably don't want to intentionally walk a hitter on a 1-2 count, things like that. That stuff, Rick Hahn can't say anything to Tony Russo. If he does, it just goes in one ear and out the other. So that fraction is between them, I think, since the hiring. And Rick, if he had his druthers, I believe he would fire Tony Russo. It would have been done long time ago, but Jerry Reinsdorf will not let that happen again.
Going into the batting part now, can the bats keep up? I mean, we know that Jose Abreu does really well in August, so we'll see if he can kind of get it going. Vaughn's been really good. Sheet's been very solid. Who else needs to step up and get the White Sox to kind of make sure they can kind of stay in this division?
Well, since he probably be playing sparingly a little bit more, when he does play, I need AJ Pollock and Gavin Sheets to step up, because while Gavin is bad as of late, he needs to show it more often, because his time will be limited because of all the people that are coming back, and Andrew Vaughn should be getting most of the starts in right field / designated hitter if it's between those two guys. So when he gets his shot, he needs to stay ready and bring that power bat. And AJ Pollock was picked up for a reason in the preseason, because the White Sox needed a right fielder and a guy that can hit both right-handers and left-handers. This year, he has been struggling mightily, and he's been coming on a little bit, but he sure still hasn't shown the power bat. A guy that has 20 home run power has had 5 already this year, only 5 this year, and his on base is underwhelming at 284. He needs to step up. The two guys I said earlier with Yohan and Yasmani, they need to step up. And I think then the White Sox offense will do enough work to get the job done and win the AL Central.
We're heading down the home stretch with our guy Herb Lawrence of CHGO Sports, who covers the White Sox, is joining us right here on Second City Sports, the Friday edition, live in living color. Sid Lakina here with you on Sports Zone Chicago. I want to go back to the pitching, Herb. I talked about Dylan Cease a few moments ago. Another starting pitcher that's annoying me a bit is Lance Lynn. I know he was interested to start the year, but Lakina could attest to this. I said that Lance Lynn needs to have a 2005 Jose Contreras type second half if the White Sox want to go where they need to go. He started off hot in the second half with that win against Cleveland a couple weeks ago. Last week against Oakland, he looked terrible, but this past Wednesday, despite the rain delays, he looked good against the Kansas City Royals in that 4-1 win. What do you expect out of Mr. Lynn from here on out?
I expect what you saw versus Kansas City. A guy that has finally got his legs under him, got his arm right, and he's feeling a little bit better. You can see, like you said, 2 out of the last 3 starts, he's been the Lance Lynn that we expect. That hiccup versus the Oakland A's was just that, I thought. It wasn't of him. I think he was left in a little bit too long in that game. But I expect what you saw, the 8 strikeouts, the no walks versus Kansas City, because this is the type of teams they'll be playing in the second half. I think his next start will be in Kansas City for one of those games in the doubleheader. So this is the quality of team he'll be playing against. And so the numbers will look similar. The Kansas City Royals are giving up. So let's feast on them. Let's eat. Cleveland is good. Minnesota is good, but you got a couple games with the Tigers left. I think Lance Lynn will rise to the occasion, and not only poor opponents, his arm is getting healthy. You could see him hitting the glove at 95, 96. Earlier in the season, it was only hitting like 92, 93. So he's feeling a little bit better. His arm and his legs are rejuvenated, and this might bode well for the White Sox because he didn't get a lot of those taxing games in the early April and May. His first start was in June for the White Sox, so his arm should be fresh with under 150 innings pitched. So if the White Sox do get to the playoffs, you'll have a healthy, very rejuvenated, and very pissed off Lance Lynn for the playoffs, because it seems like last year he just ran out of gas, and also he got that boogeyman on the Astros in front of him, which he never pitches well versus.
Yeah, Lance Lynn. Oh, yeah, the pissed off Lance Lynn. I don't know. That might be a good thing for White Sox fans. Maybe not so good for everyone else. Herb, I've been a fan of yours for a long time, and for people who know your career, of course, you were at the Score for years. You went to San Diego for a little bit, came back to the Score, produced Cubs baseball. Now you're at CHGO. What has your journey been like, over the years? Because you've been through, you've done a lot. You've done in your such a young career.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think just my career, it feels like it's gone by really fast, and I got lucky. And this is one of the things I like to tell people all the time. Like, now in our society, the word luck or lucky is like a pejorative. You don't want to be lucky. It's like, that's the opposite. You want to be lucky. Lucky is the best thing. Everybody who you think is successful is lucky. Became lucky. Their shot was because of luck. And that's what happened to me. Like, I was going to the Score as an intern. I wanted to be an intern, and I only have 2 months left in Illinois Media School. At the time, it was Illinois Center for Broadcasting. I only had 2 months left, and so I was trying to intern at the Score, and their internships were, I think, at the time 3 months long. So they're like, we can't hire you as an intern, but can you do this, that, the other? I was like, hell yeah! And so I accepted a part-time job just doing Illinois football on the radio, just running the board for that. And that's what I tell people all the time: like, get in the building. Like, it was a very low-paying job. Radio in general is low-paying and always, but get in the building and then let the people see what you can do from there, and just like be a sponge. Like, talk very little, listen a lot more. Get in all the information, sit by people you don't think you should sit by, like give it all the information you can get from that experience. And that's my first actual real radio job was at the Score. So to be that lucky early in my career, I was like 20 years old, just out of Illinois Center for Broadcasting, and I got that job. Then eventually I did well enough for them to hire me as Les Grobstein's producer. Then Jonathan Hood picked me as his first producer. Then I got to go up with Mike North and Doug Buffone. And like, my life was going really fast early. And so I got to do a lot from like 20 to like 24. And then I kind of got burned out of the Score and doing radio, because I was only making like 24,000. And I remember I was 24 years old making 24,000. I was like, I'm doing a lot of work here, but I'm not liking what I'm doing, because it was like a grind. And then my friend Jimmy Levin recruited me over to Career Builder, where they were making 30,000 and then commission. I was like, that sounds much easier. Like, instead of calling celebrities to come on, I call like a business so they can get my advertisement, something like that. So that job sucked. I was terrible at that. And I did another sales job, and then I went back to the Score after that. Mitch Rosen hired me back. And so my whole career has been like never afraid to take chances. And so that's all the stuff that you see me go other places, like going to San Diego, going to Career Builder, coming back to the Score after San Diego, and then getting CHGO. All these things are calculated risk. And after a while, I get, kind of complacent and content. And I know my personality is to be fine with the job that I have and never try to pursue another something could be better. But then in the back of my mind, I always like, you know what? That is not the way to live. The way to live is to try to go and do things. And if you fail, you fail. It doesn't matter. You can always do something else. And so I'll never be afraid to just, go and do the next thing for my life, because I think that's what life's about. Life should be an adventure and never be complacent of where you are. If you want more, go and do more.
Great advice, Herb. Last question for me. You just brought him up. Les Grobstein, he left us far too soon a few months ago. What can you say about your experience of working with Les Grobstein? What story can you tell us that the public doesn't know about the late great Les Grobstein?
Les used to, and I know Lawrence had this experience. Lawrence Holmes used to produce for him years before I did. And Les would cover games actively while he had an overnight show. So there would be a Bulls Pacers game down in Conseco Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, and the game would end at like 10 o'clock Chicago time or something like that. He had to do all the post-game stuff and file his reports and all the stuff, and then drive from Indianapolis back to Chicago to get there for a midnight show till 5 a.m. And sometimes he didn't make it. And so he would start the show on the phone, like driving back from Indianapolis on his cell phone to our studio at 4949 West Belmont, and just be doing the actual Les Grobstein show on a phone and on the Kennedy or on the Dan Ryan coming back from Indianapolis, and just get there like an hour into the show, throw his jacket off, have the phone in his hand still, and then like turn it off and then turn the mic on like that quickly. Yeah. Les was a hustler. He went and got his. He worked until, the day he passed away. He was working. So yeah, that's a good thing I could say. Les has always treated me with some great respect. We had times late in his life and late in my Score career where he, we interchanged and we caught up with each other, because I moved from nights until the afternoon. So last 2 years, I really didn't talk to him, but he would come on like Lawrence's show, or he'd come on with Parkins and Spiegel, and I get to talk to him. And he's like, "Hey, good to talk to you. I haven't seen you since 40. It was good to see you," because he hadn't been in the studio since the pandemic. Like before the pandemic is the last time I really saw Les. So I haven't seen you since 2020. Got to see you again. And so I really never saw him after that. Just talked to him on the phone. So it's sad that he passed, but he's in a better place, and his legacy will live on as a score original and a score great.
Yeah. And he will be missed. And of course, they just celebrated their anniversary. I know they did a lot of stuff for Les as well. So definitely you guys check that out through their website. Herb, thank you so much for joining us. We got to do this again. This is so much fun. You can check out his stuff on CHGO Sox. Where can people find you on social media?
On Twitter, it's Ecknerwall23. That's just Lawrence spelled backwards, and the 23 is for Robin Ventura, my favorite White Sox player of all time. And I think on the rest of the socials, it's either Ecknerwall23 or just my name, Herb Lawrence.
Yep, and that is true, because I saw you, Herb, last week at the Sox game. He does have a White Sox jersey number 23, which I'm gonna get that White Sox old school logo jersey for myself at some point. I was like, I'm jealous of him because he has that. I know that's been out for a few years, but I was like, I gotta get that. I gotta get that. At least that jersey, at least one for my personal collection.
Yeah, and they're nice. Now the jerseys are nice and breathable. I had one of those black jerseys back in 1996. They absorbed all the heat and all the sun, and you would be hot as hell in that jersey. But yeah, the new cool base Nike jerseys are real nice, even though that one's black. I didn't feel hot all day long.
Yes, he's right about that. All right, that's been Herb Lawrence from CHGO Sports, who covers the White Sox. Him, Vinny Duber, and Sean Anderson. They do a great job. Are you guys on tonight or over the weekend for the remainder of this series against Texas?
We are resuming on Sunday with a pregame and then a postgame after that game. So we go Sunday through Thursday usually for games, and then sometimes we'll cover a Friday night game.
All right. Just make sure you go to allchgo.com to read all the articles, and you can watch them at CHGO Sports on YouTube for the pre and post game coverage, as Herb says, Sunday through Thursday. Herb, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, you've been a great mentor to both of us, of course, working with you with the Dean Davis Show, as I said before, years ago. And of course, now we have a chance to bring you here on Second City Sports. You keep up the great work, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Lakina.
Thanks, Herb.
All right, thank you, Herb. Take care.
Safe.
Much continued success.
Bye.
All right.
Once again, that was Herb Lawrence from CHGO. Sid, we gotta take a little bit of a breather here, but we're gonna come back.
Yeah, it's too hot.
Yeah, it is. Oh yeah, definitely gotta stretch a little bit. As Hawk would say, gotta stretch. Potential big trade in the NBA. There's some rumors going around that could be a big trade happening in the NBA soon. Also, we got some sports media news and so much more. Sydney Brown, Lakina McGee, this is Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we're gonna wrap things up right after this.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The White Sox had Thursday off. They're back to work tonight. 7-10 first pitch at home against Oakland. 1-3 right-hander Lance Lynn starts for the Sox. 1-5 righty James Caprillion gets the nod for the A's. The Sox have wins in 6 of 10. They're third in the American League Central, 3 games out of first place, 1 game behind second place Cleveland. Oakland comes in with wins in 7 of 10. They've won 3 straight. The Cubs visit the Giants tonight. 9:15 Central first pitch from San Francisco. 2-5 right-hander Marcus Stroman faces 3-4 righty Alex Cobb. Last night, the Giants held on for a 4-2 win over the Cubs that snapped San Francisco's 7-game losing skid. All of San Francisco's runs were unearned. Cubs starter Justin Steele went 3 2/3. He gave up 5 hits, a walk, and struck out 6. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
I want to make the most of summer without breaking the bank. So I shopped Kohl's Friends and Family Sale. With my 25% off coupon, I headed to the store and got shorts for $14.99, plus an extra 50% off a swimsuit, 40% off patio furniture, and $20 off as a Kohl's Rewards member. More style and more savings for the win. Select styles, $20 off of $100 valid in store only. 25% offer ends July 31st in store only. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
This is a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup sound experiment. We're looking to find the perfect way to hear Reese's so you'll buy more of them. Here we go. Reese's, 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 Reese's. Hey, get out of here, you little stinker. Reese's.
Reese's. Reese's.
Peanut Butter Cups. That breathy one sounded very creepy, am I right?
Kind of gear.
Welcome back to Second City Sports, the Friday edition, all new, we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Well, I was cooling up a little bit too much.
You also had a little bit of a brain freeze there. So you can follow me at Kino McGee on the Twitter and at Kino McGee on the IG.
We have less than a half hour, exactly 20 minutes left of this extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And our guy, I think he left, but he wanted to leave us a message. And this guy's name, we can pull it up here, Brandon Schutz. Yeah, he says hello to us. Thank you for that support, Mr. Schutz.
Thanks, Schutz. Yeah, say thanks, Brandon.
Yep. So Lakina gave us a tease before the break, and she says that, as the young kids would say, it's going down. Potentially, a big trade potentially happening in the NBA. I know the schedule is supposed to be released in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But who are the big names supposed to be on the move?
Supposedly, I guess, of course, Donovan Mitchell, of course. With the new coach over there with the Jazz now there was that I know the Knicks have been wanting him. It may have to do a 3-team thing. I think there is one trade I gotta get the trade but yeah, it's just a rumor. Like I said, who knows if the rumor itself is true or not, but I have to get it up. I know that Pat Bev could be going to the Lakers. That'll be interesting. Also too, with Donovan Mitchell going, perhaps maybe I got it right here. This is the they discussed. Now, I don't know if this is true, but they discussed a 3-team trade that would have had Donovan Mitchell going to New York, Pat Beverly, and another key Jazz player yet to be named going to the Lakers, Russell Westbrook, and such. So that's sort of like one of the big trades. Now, none of this is true, but this is according to Hoops Hype. So take that for what it's worth. Could Russell Westbrook also be on the move as well? So yeah, this is according to Hoops Hype. I mean, this is just a lot of different, various rumors and whatnot. Still a lot to be kind of like sorted out.
Yeah, as we talked about before, Lakina, during this season and during the playoffs last year, GM Danny Ainge, we saw what he did in Boston. He brought that franchise back to prominence with that 2008 championship. They went to the finals again in 2010. If it wasn't for Kendrick Perkins' injury, I think they would have beaten the Lakers in 2010. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother time. But we said that the Utah had to be rebuilt. Those stories about Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell were out there for the last couple of years, and it just didn't go away. We saw what they did in trading Rudy Gobert to Minnesota in exchange for some draft picks and no-name players. But Minnesota has as a new this era's edition of the Twin Towers. We'll see how that works out. But Utah needs to rebuild. I know Dwayne Wade, Chicago's very young. He has a minority ownership with the Jazz. We'll see if he can talk Donovan Mitchell into staying, or does Donovan Mitchell has his mind made up that he's wants to go somewhere else. He still has, I believe, 3 years left remaining on his current deal. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely. The KD rules have died down significantly. I guess maybe because some teams don't have enough to give. So maybe that's probably why some of those trades.
And do you think Brooklyn's asking too much? That could be the case here as well.
Yeah. So a lot I'm sure there's still gonna be a lot that is probably gonna be decided. And of course, like you said, Sid, the schedule is supposed to come out in a couple of weeks, a TV schedule, and also two training camps are in about a little over a couple of months from now. Well, a little over a month actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, the
Maybe
end of
about six.
September. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say about two, like it's about 6 or 7, like 7 or 8 weeks from now. So
Mhm.
it's coming up quick, so we'll see what happens here. But yeah, there's a reason why we haven't heard any like big rumors about Katie and Kyrie in quite some time.
Yep. And some people still hanging on hope for Kyrie to join the Los Angeles Lakers, whether it's right before training camp or at some point during the first half of the season. It still may happen, but we'll see. We'll see. You're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday edition, live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you. Lakina, let's get into some sports media news. We have a lot to talk about. I'll read out the headlines. We'll make some comments from there. From ESPN, Peyton Manning's Omaha Productions partners with Pat McAfee from Barstool Sports for college football simulcast on ESPN2. I'm really looking forward to this one because Pat McAfee has made himself a big name throughout the last couple of years with his podcast. I actually listened to it during the football season, of course. Occasionally, of course, he has Aaron Rodgers on. I'm sure that's going to be the case again this year, every Tuesday on his podcast. He did, as of right now, he didn't need ESPN. He didn't need Fox or other big media outlets to catapult his career. He's the biggest name in sports media outside of those two conglomerates. And partnering up with Peyton Manning's production company, I'm really looking forward to this one. Will it be the same as the Manning cast on Monday Night Football, or will it be something slightly different, but in that same realm? I'm interested to see how this format shapes up.
Well, I think that's going to be like the number one question. Will it be kind of a Manning cast type of thing, or will it be something completely different? Who knows? But yeah, this is interesting because them joining forces. I think that's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to be produced and which game's going to get that treatment.
Yeah.
Will it be will it be the big games? Will it be kind of like the smaller tier games? Will it be will it feature some HBCUs? I know that and everything else. So yeah, this will be interesting what games we get this treatment. Will it be just one game? So it's going to be very interesting here.
I want to see it that October 7th game, the 8th game with the Alabama and Texas A&M. They'll probably get that treatment. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'm sure Alabama's gonna want their revenge after what happened last year. So that'll be very interesting for them to simulcast that particular game. That's gonna be very interesting too. I feel like, but no love lost between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Also, for my good folks at ESPN, they have officially announced that Bill Walton's 30 for 30 will be airing soon. It will be directed by Steve James. I don't know if it's going to get the Jeter treatment of 7 parts, but I'm interested to see this 30 for 30. Of course, Bill Walton, I know he's been laying low for the last few years, but he still does college basketball, the Pac-12 in particular for ESPN. And of course, we remember him as a broadcaster in the 90s with NBC. I barely remember his playing career. I was too young to really appreciate what he did. Of course, we all know what he did in college back at UCLA with the late great John Wooden there, going undefeated. I believe in his all 4 years there. I know he was involved in politics during the time it wasn't very popular in the 70s, and I know he got slammed for that. I know they're going to talk about that for sure. But he's a very interesting, intriguing guy. I know he has a sense of humor that some people don't get sometimes, but he's a very well intelligent, well-versed, not young man, but a very interesting individual.
It's going to be very fascinating to see this because I'm sure it'll be 2 parts to this. I'm sure there's going to be like his college days, his early years, and his college days, of course, at UCLA. To remember, he was on that team where Digger Phelps, his Notre Dame team, broke that record-breaking, on the men's side, winning streak there. So I'm sure they're gonna delve right into that. And then, of course, his NBA career, winning a title in Portland with the Trailblazers back in 77. And then, of course, with the issues with his foot and his knees and such, then going to Boston, winning a championship there in the mid-'80s. So it's going to be interesting to see how far they go. Of course, we know that he's a bit, he loves rock and roll. So
Yep, and the Grateful Dead. That's going to be brought up a lot too.
I'm sure that'll be brought up a lot too. So yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm fascinated how this is going to go. This might be a little more in depth than the Derek Jeter one, because it's sort of like, if you've seen the Derek Jeter, I know that the next parts are going to air next week, but if you see it, it's more straightforward. This one, I'm sure, is going to be more in depth, a little bit more personal and such. I'm sure Lord knows how much unaired footage will probably be out there, but I'm looking forward to this one.
I hope this gets a mention as well. Lakina, remember, I think this was 3 or 4 years ago. Bill Walton made his debut as a White Sox analyst with Jason Benetti in the game against the Anaheim Angels. I wonder how much they're going to talk about that.
Well, yeah, there were folks that felt that should not have happened, but
right.
I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about that. But this should be a very interesting 30 for 30. I'm going to assume it's going to air perhaps maybe during the NBA season. I think they're filming it. I think they're editing it as we speak. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. This one should be quite interesting as a lot of the others.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. Continuing from our good folks at NBC, Matthew Berry, who used to be the head of the fantasy football content at ESPN. Of course, he left them. He left ESPN about a month or so ago. He'll be joining NBC Sports, and he'll host a weekly and daily daily shows for fantasy football for Peacock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's being paid a lot. I'm sure that's probably one of the reasons why he probably left ESPN after being there over 20 years, I should say. So, I think people were surprised that he left, but I'm sure this is probably why, getting the chance to, host his own show and a podcast, and probably gonna have a little bit more freedom too. So so I'm sure people are gonna be tuning in. Of course, they're gonna do a lot of fantasy. You're gonna be seeing him on Sunday Night Football as well.
Yeah.
So, that's probably gonna be the big one there. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
And from our good folks at Amazon, Miss Taylor Rooks, who got her big start here in Chicago with the Big Ten Network, she'll join Prime Video's Thursday Night Football coverage for features and interviews.
Big fan of Taylor. We see if we can try to get her on, of course.
Yeah.
Worked at the Big Ten Network for a few years. I think she's a U of I girl, if I'm not mistaken. And now she's involved, and she has a popular podcast, and now she's going to be doing some stuff with Amazon's their Thursday Night Football coverage. Yeah, I think that we know she's good at what she does. We know athletes respect her, so yeah, definitely a good a solid hire, another good hiring by Amazon.
Yeah, so good luck to Taylor Rooks. We'll definitely be watching. You're listening to Second City Sports, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live in the living color. Sid and Lakina here with you. Lakina, do you have any other leftover thoughts before we part for the weekend?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. We actually didn't do the scheduling for MLB this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right. Let's go to it. Yes. Yeah, we were that's because we had so much hot stuff going on.
Yeah, I'll say we were so jam-packed, we forgot to do our regular stuff. But
yes.
It's no big deal. So it's not a bad thing. You get the
best and worst this weekend. Then we'll get to the weekend schedule.
Right. I'll say the best and worst in the baseball. Of course, we talked about it earlier with her Justin Verlander and everything he's been doing. The fact that 39, he's a down-and pitcher. He has a 1.73 ERA. Only two pitchers at that age and older have had such a lower ERA after 20 starts. Of course, you got to go back to 2005 with Roger Clemens and 1915 with Eddie Plank. So, she's definitely leader in the clubhouse for AL Cy Young. And now we're tied with the Brewers and the Cardinals. The Cardinals have won 4 in a row, and the Brewers have lost 4 in a row. So now they're tied in the NL Central. So that's probably going to come down to the final few weeks of the season. The Padres unfortunately have not, with all the moves that they made, it's not working out so far. And now the Dodgers have won 5 in a row, so now they're pulling away in the NL West. So what was your best of works for this week in the MLB?
Your Seattle Mariners take it 2-3 in the Bronx against the Yankees. Louis Castillo didn't have the world's greatest debut. It wasn't terrible either, but that's what happens if you get 6 runs in the first inning. You get to pitch a little bit easier. And so the Seattle's bats came out against the Bronx. I know New York is now, I believe, 9-14 in their last 21 games. So if my math is correct, if you're a Yankees fan, you shouldn't be too worried. You're still going to win the AL East. It's all about battling Houston for those top 2 wild card top two bye spots in the American League expanded playoffs, which starts this year. You definitely want to get home field advantage for that, especially if you think that you're going to meet Houston in a potential ALCS matchup. So that was something that caught my eye this week. Toronto takes care of Tampa Bay this week down in the state of Florida. And looky here. Speaking of the St. Louis Cardinals, they take care of the Cubs in a doubleheader yesterday. For the Cubs, I just got to say, it's just wait until next year. Especially, we talked about it earlier with Christine Manika. Wilson Contreras, who had another home run the other day. You really are in mixed emotions. You really thought you weren't going to go. Now it's just like, I know it's a sigh of relief for the moment, but you're going to have to go through all this again at the end of the season. This just makes no sense. Just listening to the comments of Jed Hoyer. I know he appeared on the Marquee Sports Network's Cubs Live pregame show earlier today as we were broadcasting live. And if you really read into his comments, Lakina, and really read into the reports over the last couple of days, after that Juan Soto trade from the Nationals to the Padres, Jed Hoyer really overplayed his hand in terms of Ian Happ and Wilson Contreras. And that's something he's going to have to wear for a while.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing. Go through all that. He was crying. You saw all the emotions. And then now, oh, wait, we couldn't find anybody for you. So, I think both the Cubs and the White Sox have some. Of course, they both made minor moves, but they didn't make those big trades that you thought that they were going to do. So, just unfortunate. Now you got to go through all this again in the next couple of months. It's just, what a roller coaster last few weeks for Wilson Contreras. You definitely feel for him. The Phillies get another good one for the Phillies. They've won 8 of their last 10. They're still right there in the National League wild card. Of course, the division is probably all, it's going to be between the Mets and the Braves. So that AL East, is definitely going to be very interesting in that division. They continue their 4-gamer. Of course, they beat the Braves on top of the Mets, 6-4 in the opener. Now they'll be, going in their series this weekend. So that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, and one more before we get to this weekend schedule, one more thing that I needed to point out. During yesterday's 8-7 win, Oakland over Anaheim. Anaheim hit 7 home runs and lost. The last time that happened was back in 1985. There's a Chicago connection to this. Jerry Narron, who's now on the coaching staff for the White Sox, was part of that last California/Anaheim team that hit 7+ home runs and lost the game.
Oh gosh,
I know, right?
That's oh my God, talk about a small world, Jesus.
Yep, back in 1985.
Oh, okay. I think I might have watched that game. I'm not sure. A little 3-year-old Lakina watching that game, but that's interesting that you score 7, you hit 7 home runs, and Ohtani hit 2 of them, but you lost. You still lost. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's been the kind of season that has been for the Angels. So I don't know, just a little bit nutty there.
One more thing before we move forward. Joe Mandel from the Southside Hitman podcast, part of the Barroom Network, who's a good friend on this show. We had him on a month or so ago. He was on Sean and Maya this morning. He didn't get to it. For those of you that missed it, go check it out right here on YouTube at Sports Zone Chicago and it's Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook. And Sean and Maya in the morning from earlier today. He was talking about the potential trade between Ohtani, the Angels, and the White Sox. He said this, and I quote, the deal was on the table between those two teams. The Angels were stupid enough to turn it down. That's all he said. I was like, I got to do some digging on that one.
Wait, so the Angels were the ones that turned it down?
Turned it down, yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you don't really have much. For the Sox, it doesn't really have much.
Appears like the Angels didn't have much either.
Yeah, so I find it hard to believe that either one actually had anything that the other wanted. But again, whatever. But he would probably know. But I'm a little skeptical in that. But it is what it is. But he's not. I don't think Ohtani is going anywhere. At least not just yet.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, we'll see what happens there going into this weekend schedule in MLB. Of course, the Marlins and Cubs are going on right now as we speak over at Wrigley. They start their 3-game weekend series. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. They're right there in the thick of it in the AL wild card. Nobody said that, even though they did trade Trey Mancini, but they still got a shot. Washington and Philadelphia. Washington has given up, so Philly, if you're Philly, you better hopefully you can continue your little role here. That's gonna be the first game, the Apple TV Plus doubleheader. So for all you fans in DC in the surrounding areas and in Philly, make sure you remember that you're not gonna be able to watch the game tonight. Atlanta and New York, they continue their series. Of course, like I said, the Mets beat the Braves yesterday. Houston and Cleveland, that should be an interesting series as well.
Let's go Houston.
Yeah, Washington's gonna be cheering hard for Houston for the first time like ever.
I know, right? Before they come to town in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, Tampa Bay and Detroit, they continue their series. Of course, the White Sox and the Rangers will try to bounce back. I'm not rolling my eyes, folks. You guys didn't see it. I'm gonna be listening back to this. Boston and Kansas City, that'll be on ESPN Plus.
And continuing with the weekend schedule, this is the second game of the Apple TV coverage tonight. Cincinnati and Milwaukee. I believe our guy Russ Dorsey would be on the call for that one.
I think that was
hashtag RussCast invading the
RussCast, yay! It's sweeping the country.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And of course, the Blue Jays and the Twins will do battle in Target Field in the state of Minnesota. The Yankees and the Cardinals. This should be a good one from New Busch Stadium. And so that's an interleague matchup the guys should pay attention to. Colorado's at Arizona. Seattle will be hosting the Anaheim Angels. And, of course, the Padres and the Dodgers start tonight.
Ooh,
I can't wait for that one.
That should be a lot of fun with the new look. Padres, they're 1-1 so far since all those trades. And I know the Dodgers have had some injury issues. I know Clayton Kershaw's back's not bothering him. So that could be something to look out for as we get into the rest of the season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, the FS1 game of the week, for tomorrow, you got Miami and the Cubs. Yeah. Yeah, that's about it. And for the Fox Saturday game of the week, the regional action, you got Cincinnati and Milwaukee and the Yankees and the Cardinals.
Yeah, as we say in the business, check your local listings for game and times in your area. Translation, most of the country will get Yankees Cardinals. For those of you in the state of Ohio and the state of Wisconsin, you'll get Cincinnati and Milwaukee. Oh, boy.
Ooh.
Continuing, your Peacock game of the week for Sunday morning will be Houston at Cleveland. That's going to be a good one. Jason Benetti will get a good one. That'll be actually a good baseball game to call. You don't have to pretend to not fall asleep on that one.
Right.
And your Sunday night game of the week on ESPN will be San Diego at Los Angeles, taking on the Dodgers from Dodger Stadium. As we talked about before, Lakina, the Dodgers will do a great tribute, I'm sure, this week of Vin Scully. And this will be their first home game since his passing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of emotion there. The first home series for them, so I'm sure there's going to be. I'm sure this will be a great matchup too. So it actually ended up working out on both ends. Now, a couple of quick notes before we go. Of course, as we talked about with Christine earlier, the Blackhawks and the Wild will be playing a regular season game over at Pfizer Field.
Preseason.
Preseason. At Pfizer Field, just outside Milwaukee. In October, that should be, and it's sold out. So apparently, So that should be a pretty cool atmosphere there, even though it's a preseason game.
Yeah, of course, Minnesota and the Blackhawks have been great rivals for years. Of course, Minnesota is still a good competitive team. Of course, we all know about the Blackhawks. What they're going through as they try to restart this franchise. So I don't think they ever played an NHL game in the state of Wisconsin before, obviously for a preseason game. If not, this will be the first one. So you get the folks from Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota to the east of the folks in Wisconsin. And, of course, you get folks from us here in Chicago traveling up 294 to go to Pfizer Forum.
That should be a Pfizer Forum. That should be a lot of fun over there because I think, like you said, I think this is the first time that they're going to be playing. Well, I think there may be the NHL game. I know that they've done some of the minor league games up in Wisconsin, but that should be very interesting. Also, too, Jonathan Hudro has a brand new contract. He's staying with Calgary, 8 years, $84 million. So he got himself a nice little chunk of change there.
Yes. Can't be on his payroll.
You're right. I know his agent. Nice job by his agent starting off that contract. So, so nice little note there. We wanted to bring that up for one of the top players in the league. So definitely deserving of that new contract.
Yep, Johnny Hockey.
Johnny
All
Hockey,
right.
as they call him.
Yep. All right, Lakina, it's time for us to cool off. It's going to be hot this weekend in Chicago.
Yes, it is.
And this is going to be a rare home stay, partially home staycation for yours truly. I'm going to enjoy some good old air conditioning.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, because it's supposed to be hot. I think, especially to Sunday. So yeah, that
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
probably not time to turn on the oven. Get a order out if you can. Now,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the start of the Premier League session. The new Premier League session starts actually as we speak. Crystal Palace and Arsenal are playing right now as we speak, and also other great Premier League action. And also, of course, you've got baseball and such. You got the Wyndham Championship in golf. This is the last event before the FedEx Cup. So that should be a lot of fun and a lot of other things going on too. So what are you looking forward to this weekend, Sid?
Like I said, football will be starting next weekend as far as the preseason is concerned. But I'm definitely looking forward to, of course, White Sox and Rangers. The White Sox should go 3-0 for the remainder of this series against Texas before you head to Kansas City for 4 starting next Tuesday, before you return home around this time next week to face the Detroit Tigers, of course, Atlanta and the Mets, of course, San Diego and Los Angeles. I'm looking forward to both those series outside of the Sox this weekend.
Well, speaking of the White Sox, of course, if you guys remember, yesterday was the anniversary of when Robert Ventura, that's Herb Morris's favorite player, tried to charge Nolan Ryan.
Noogie.
Yeah, 46-year-old Nolan Ryan. Probably not the smartest thing he's done, but that's another.
Yeah, the old guy beating up on a young guy. I think that was just so polarizing.
That was just.
I remember watching that on the highlights. I was like, "This actually happened." Nolan Ryan was like Roger Clemens and all those old school pitchers, like to pitch the ball inside to get the hitters off track. He did that to Ventura. Ventura took quick offense to it, and Nolan Ryan gave him the noogie.
Yeah,
I'm too old to punch, but I'll give you a noogie upside your head.
Yeah, that's oh gosh, I just think.
For those of you that haven't seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's everywhere.
It's on YouTube. It's everywhere on YouTube. Yeah, poor Robert. That's gonna be the one thing that's gonna define him, unfortunately, whether he likes it or not. With that said, you can follow me at Keita McGee on the Twitter and at Keita_McGee on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you catch our podcast, Second City Sports, on all podcast platforms at War or Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Smash that like button, share this program to everybody you know, and make sure you support us at Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. And speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can catch Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Once again, Second City Sports live in the living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. And speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, we're now available on Roku TV. That's right, you catch Sports Zone Chicago Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just click on the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you're watching us on the YouTube, Lakina show you how you doing it. Just show them how to do it. Just go to that sports section, download Sports Zone Chicago, and put that Sports Zone Chicago app next to all those other popular apps that you have on your TV screen. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. On all those streaming devices, including your phone, iPad, iTouch, iTablet, and on your computer, your laptop, just download that Roku TV app. You go to the sports section and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. So there's no excuses anymore. Get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is on Roku TV.
Just in time for the football season. I know.
Oh yes.
You could catch out all the great shows. What's Up, Cuz, the Smoke Fellas, of course, Sean and Maya. I know we're gonna be launching a couple other shows coming this fall. And we're gonna be doing our NFL previews starting within the next week or two. So make sure you guys check that out as well. Stay cool out there. I know it's hot pretty much everywhere, all over the country. But again, you know what? Wash your hands. If you're not gonna get vaccinated, wash your hands. be good to each other and stay cool. I guess I'm saying that now, especially for this weekend for a lot of us here in the Midwest. For Sid, I'm Lakina. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Thank you to Christine Manika and Herb Lawrence. Till Monday, go Sox. Holla!